Hey everyone, Matt here from Doc's Running, and today we're going to do a video on the best super racing shoes for those with stability needs. Now, if you're someone like me that typically needs at least a little mild stability or some stable neutral stuff, finding a racing shoe can be really hard because, unlike many years ago, there are no true stability racing shoes left on the market. There are two, technically, that do fit this, but they're not super racing shoes. So the Saucony Tempest, which is kind of more of a trainer, but works really well for certain people that maybe are going to go marathon distance. And there's also the Brooks Hyperion GTS2, which is lighter. It's the lightest stability shoe on the market, but it's definitely not super. Doesn't have a super foam, doesn't have a plate, doesn't check those boxes a lot of these shoes typically do. So for those of us that kind of want the highest performance thing, you're kind of stuck to go, wait, which of these shoes do they even work for me? Am I going to be able to handle this? Because a lot of them are really tall, really soft, a little unstable. So you might get through a couple miles, but then as you get into those later miles, you're like, I'm not feeling so good. So this video is for you if you're looking for that thing, because some of these shoes, these four in particular, have some stable elements that may work for different people. So I'm hoping, and the goal of this video is to help you, if you are looking for that thing, figure out which one of these shoes might be best for you if you need a little bit of stability. So we're going to start with the Hoka Rocket X2. We've talked about this shoe previously for being really good at that, and in my mind is one of the most stable of the super racing shoes out there. Spec-wise, coming in at about 224 grams or 7.9 ounce for my size 10, 36 millimeters in the heel, 31 and 4 foot for a 5 millimeter drop. What makes this shoe really great is the fact that it has massive sidewalls on both the medial and the lateral side. It is on the wider side. The midfoot does not narrow, which is really nice. And there's this big gap here in the middle, which does a really great job of actually keeping you really centered. It's also very stiff. It is not the softest of all of these, but it's a teeny bit on the firmer end for such a tall shoe, but it has a lot of bounce. It's been a very fun shoe. I've done some 5Ks in this shoe, done a lot of workouts in it. Durability has actually been really, really good. The only thing you need to be a little bit aware of is the volume and the fit is very low and a little narrow. I'm wear typically a size 10. If I were you and you find this a little bit too snug and a little too short, which it really presses on the toes, I would highly encourage you to size up a half size. I got to try a friend of mine size 10 and a half, and I'm kicking myself going, oh, 10 and a half might have fit better. So just know, very racing type upper. Some people need to go a half size up, but it rolls really nicely. The forefoot, heel, and midfoot are all really stable. Like I said, you can see the big sidewalls, and the stiffness makes it the most stable of this group because the sidewalls are so prevalent, it really keeps you centered. So if you go lateral, medial, really doesn't matter. This is probably one of the best ones out there. You just need to be aware of the caveat is this is also the lowest drop. Yes, it's a 5 millimeter drop. It feels lower than that because the forefoot is really aggressive and kind of feels like you're going over a little speed bump. When you're getting up on your forefoot, it feels really good. But as you kind of get back, if you've got some like calf tension issues, this one might be a little challenging, but if you like a low drop option, this is going to be the best one out there. And like I said, I think it's the most stable of the group as long as you can handle that lower drop. Now, next one that I would talk about is the Saucony Endorphin Elite, a big favorite of the team. There's some little durability issues, but it was really cool to see Saucony pull this together and create this really, really great shoe, albeit a little expensive, that really was a favorite of ours for a lot of different, especially longer distance stuff, although I've used this for plenty of 5K distances. Now, the spec-wise coming in, the lightest of this entire group, my size 10 comes in at 214 grams or 7.6 ounces. It is very, very light, tall, 39.5 millimeters in the heel, 31.5 in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop. So kind of more moderate compared to the Rocket X2 back there. I'm really excited about the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, which I can't really talk about, but I don't know how stable that is, so we'll talk about that in 2025. Anyway, a lot of really good things about this. Why am I blanking on the foam name? The Power Run HG here is different than Power Run PB because it is incredibly responsive, very resilient foam, but it is a little bit on the firmer end for a shoe that's this tall with this much cushioning. So a tiny bit firmer, which adds stability, and there's almost full-length sidewalls that go from the heel all the way into the forefoot. Now, they're not as aggressive or prominent as the Rocket X2, but they are still there, combined with a definitely wide forefoot, little bit wider heel, and a midfoot that's filled in a little bit. Really, really helps for those that need some little bit of guidance throughout the full length of this thing. Kind of more so in the heel and the forefoot. For those with midfoot instabilities, it might not be the best option. It's not terrible, but it's also not great. But if you like sidewalls and a little wider last, this thing is actually going to work really, really well. Upper, wider forefoot, so if you have a narrow foot, this might not work the best. The other thing I really enjoy this for is those with Haglund issues and Haglund deformities. There is no heel counter back here, so it actually sits really nicely on the heel for those that are sensitive. But very fast shoe, rolls really nicely over marathon distance. If you have some mild guidance knees and you like sidewalls, this shoe might be a good option for you. Now, next one that's been a new one out this year, the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4, which Andrew and I tested, and we had some different opinions. I've got 100 miles on my pair, so now I have a little bit more to it. It complements the Endorphin Elite because it's actually a little bit different in terms of where the guidance is. First, talking about specs, it's 228 grams or 8 ounces in my size 10, 40 millimeters in the heel, 32 in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter jock, just like the Endorphin Elite, but slightly higher stack height. It's got power run PB and an internal layer of power run HG. It's a very stiff ride. The forefoot rocker is a little bit late, which makes this really snappy and nice. For those of you that maybe want to do 5K-ish distances, this could be actually a really great option, although the weight's a little bit higher than some of the other things out there. And for those of you that like marathon distances, I found if I'm getting on the heel, it's got a really nice smooth transition. 10K to marathon, I really struggle with for some reason in those distances, like tempo runs I struggle with, but really fast and kind of easier stuff does great. What's really nice about this shoe is it's got the highest volume of any of these. I've really had to lock this shoe down just to get a more secure fit, because if you have a wider foot, a higher volume foot, this one actually might work well. Now, what happens from a stability standpoint is there are really great sidewalls in the midfoot. So while the Endorphin Elite, I feel like works a little bit better in the heel and the forefoot, the Endorphin Pro 4 works better in the midfoot. The midfoot here is nice and wider. It's been filled in on the medial side really, really well. Really nice sidewalls on both the medial and lateral sides of the shoe. Heel is more neutral. Forefoot's good. It's not great. It's not bad. The stiffness really, really helps here. But if you have some midfoot stability needs, need some mild guidance, I think the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 is the best of these. And again, when I put this on, I'm not usually like, oh, this feels like a stable shoe. It's like when I'm running, I'm like, I can get to like 12 plus miles and not be super fatigued in this. I can do easy stuff in it and not be super fatigued. So if you need midfoot, mild guidance, the Endorphin Pro 4 is probably going to be the best bet for you of this group. Now, the last one that I'm going to add might be a little surprising for some people, and I'm really excited. And please comment below if you agree or disagree with me on this, because I really, really want to create some discussion about this. The Hoka Skyward X2, and hopefully I pronounced that correctly because I can never do that. Cue comments making fun of me. Okay, this is a new shoe from Hoka this year. It came in really crazy. It's the heaviest of this group, but I might argue it's also maybe one of the bounciest and certainly the tallest stack height of the group. It's got, per what we've measured, 46 millimeters in the heel, 39 in the forefoot for a 7 millimeter drop, and it's also coming the heaviest at 260 grams or 9.2 ounces for my men's size 10. What this really does well is, yes, there's a great medial sidewall, there's a great lateral sidewall, and there's sidewalls all over the place. But the best thing, and yes, I'm missing a chunk here because the durability is questionable for people that scuff their heels, so that's a different conversation. But there is so much lateral bias in this shoe, when you get to the midfoot, that it really feels like there's actually a mild medial post here. When I've run this shoe, it's done really great for my mechanics. It just with the outsole lasts a little longer, where I've just been on the outside to somebody who collapses and needs a little bit help with kind of medial motion or pronation. This shoe actually does really, really well for that. If you have any lateral instabilities, this is a shoe you should avoid. If you have a history of ankle sprains, you're sensitive to going out too far, do not get this shoe. But if you tend to go in a little bit, you might really like this. And I would say this is actually the most aggressive medial stability of the group, just because of the outsole and the way it's designed, that you really get pushed lateral. I've really enjoyed that for longer runs, for even really, really fast runs. I've been really impressed with this shoe. Like I said, for like the 1,000th time, just with the durability was better. So if you're someone that really needs medial stability, this one actually might be the best of this option, as long as just kind of general softness and lateral instability doesn't bother you at all. So that's the 4 different ones, and the other 3 are on the floor. So let me pick those back up. And as always, see if I can stack these back again in a totally different order. So those are the 4 currently, as of this video, that I think are the best 4 super racing shoes for those with stability needs. Very different things for each one of them. I think the Rocket X2 might be the best, just kind of general, stable, neutral. The Endorphin Elite, if you need some solid full-length sidewalls, especially in the heel and the forefoot, tends to work really, really well, and a little bit firmer, but super responsive midsole. The Endorphin Pro 4 has really good midfoot sidewalls, as well as a little wider fit midfoot, so those people that need mild guidance in that area, and a little bit in the forefoot because it's so stiff, might do well there. And the last one, if you have medial stability needs and not lateral, and you want a shoe that just guides you lateral and kind of, especially through the heel and midfoot especially, the Hoka Skyward X1 might be the option for you. As always, I hope this video helps, and please, 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 in the comments below, let us know what you think. Do you agree or disagree? Is there any other shoes that you might put on this list? Is there anything you would definitely not put on this list? Do you disagree with me on any of this stuff? And there's still a couple shoes that we haven't tested out there. Is there any other ones that you would suggest for this list? Really curious. I'm going to say it again. As always, hope this video helps figure out what shoes are going to work best for you.